biggest takeaways this past week from the friendlies that we've seen at the international level was how Mexico has the complete opposite when it comes to a very disastrous competition. And you can even look at the same position of the field, the midfield, bro. Mexico is having a mid-off right now. And I don't mean no pun by that, bro. It is average talent competing against average talent. And it's abysmal, man. It's abysmal to see the conversations we're having, like Luis Romo and Charlie Rodriguez starting, but then who's really challenging them for their spot? And the players that are trying aren't very good, man. And that really stood out to me in just the depth that I've seen from Mexico overall, the players that have come on, even in the wings position as well. Alexis Vega has been horrible in the past 6 months. Antuna is so mediocre in my opinion. Yeah. There's guys that just come up and down, up and down. I thought this was exemplified in the friendly they had against Uzbekistan, playing the same opponent that USA had just played a few days ago, and tying them 3-3, allowing 3 goals from the Uzbekistan side, and just not really having any sort of, consistency with the squad selection, with the players that they're picking, and not really showing the same level of discipline and confidence that obviously the USA is having right now. I don't think it's fair to compare these two teams anymore. USA is like an older brother that's gone on to be successful. Yeah. And Mexico's right now a teenager going through puberty, bro. They got other problems right now. Yeah. And so I just think it's worth highlighting because we're talking about 2 CONCACAF teams that are expecting to host the World Cup in 2026. And obviously it's my beloved Mexican side. But I think yet again, it's a continuation of the trend that we've been seeing basically since the World Cup ended, or even in the build-up to the World Cup. USA is on this insane rise, and Mexico just continues to be at a very stagnant level.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, let's get into this Mexico game, because I actually have a lot to say here. The Mexico-Uzbekistan game, as you just put, 3-3. Honestly, really fun game from a neutral perspective.
Sure.
Man. Some really good goals scored. The first goal from Uzbekistan was a crazy header. Like, ridiculously well-timed jump and very accurate precision on the actual header itself. I was like, God damn. Good finish. Mexico then create a bit of chaos and honestly do well themselves to, get back into it. Then right before the half ends, Uzbekistan go down that left flank, play some really good football, and they get a nice lateral pass to the top of the box for an Uzbekistan player, and dude, he rifles it right in the bottom left-hand corner, Ochoa's right side, a beautifully executed goal. And, that's the thing. From the 25-minute mark all the way to the 75th minute mark, Uzbekistan actually settled into the game. I thought the first 15 minutes, Mexico actually did very well. They started with a lot of chaos, a lot of impetus to really take it to Uzbekistan. But the longer the game went on, the more comfortable Uzbekistan looked. And they ended up getting a little bit unfortunate, but it was due to Mexico's pace that they ended up conceding 2 more goals late in the game. And then they ended up getting a really nice free kick to equalize it 3-3. Crazy curler. Ochoa definitely wasn't expecting it. He was looking for a cross. So at the end of the day, it is an Ochoa mistake. But even then, that ball had some pace on it. So it was a very well executed shot from the Uzbekistan player. But yeah, man, for me, especially since I watched these games back to back, Mexico, and then I saw the USA, I was like, oh wow, I've said there's been a big difference for the last basically 18 months, but it's just that I think the difference is getting wider and wider and wider. One thing that I really noticed in yesterday's games, Mexico don't play on the ball. I think the only player that does, Jordi Cortizo. He's the only one. Yeah. He's the only one that asks for it and then tries to create something with the ball at his feet. Mm-hmm. Every other Mexican player, Kevin Alvarez, for example, Chino Huerta, they have good energy about them, but they don't really ask for the ball. And when they do get it, they're immediately looking to pass it off, right? And I know that Huerta tries to dribble penetrate. I don't know if he really has that class. But, Luis Romo, I thought had a stinker of a game. But that's the thing. He's a central midfielder right alongside Edson Alvarez. You need him to be asking for the ball. never does. And when he does get it, dude, he immediately gets rid of it. But dude, that's every Mexican player in an offensive position. Every single one, even Uriel Antuna. Yes, sure, when he's in open space, he's going to dribble with it, but none of it is off of his own will. As in, he only dribble penetrate if it's open. And when he tries to do it and it's closed, dude, he gets shut down every single time. Yeah. That's every single Mexican player. There's no player that has the ability to ask for the ball and then from there create. Again, the only player, and you need to invest all of your money into him, bro. Make sure he's having a good life in Monterrey. Make sure that he continues to develop. The only one is Cortizo.
Yeah.
That's
He's already pretty old, though, like in the context of, like, you know, USA got young studs coming up the ranks. Cortizo's like 25 or 26 already.
Right.
Like, damn, dude, that's it?
That's it. And maybe he has one good World Cup because I do think you're going to need him. Now, of course, there's still no Chucky Lozano, you know, right?
Yeah.
I think that will definitely help you guys. Jimenez, we had mentioned it before the international break, and I actually thought he looked good.
Yeah.
I have no problem with what Raul Jimenez is doing, but of course, he is a true number 9. He needs service. I thought his combination play was excellent when he could get on the ball with his back to goal. I think his second goal, or whichever one, he just rifled it in the bottom corner. Excellent shot. That's a Premier League type finish, bro. I think Jimenez definitely is, for me, a mainstay as far as who's going to be the starting striker. My take on Jimenez is the same. I just think he has still a lot more to prove. If I'm going Henry Martin, Santi Jimenez, or Raul Jimenez, I'm definitely going Raul over any of those guys all day long. Bring Santi, sure, but I think Jimenez is a lot better, especially right now. But dude, that's it, though. And the thing is, you can't ask Jimenez to dribble. It's not his job. So I think Mexico are playing a type of football that isn't going to be conducive to playing against the elite teams at a World Cup.
No.
It's just not going to cut it.
No chance.
There's no chance, bro. Like, Uzbekistan themselves had a great game. And that's the thing. It's Uzbekistan. And I know they're trying to make the World Cup.
They're trying something.
They're trying something. Good for them. But that's Mexico's level right now.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's our cap, bro. Sure, we scored 3 goals, but we also conceded 3 goals against us, man. And there were moments in this game where Uzbekistan actually, dude, they got confident and they were on the road. Full road game. That is the same atmosphere we're going to see at the 2026 World Cup. A stadium in the United States where it's completely packed with Mexicans. There'll be games down in Mexico, and Uzbekistan's able to come in and, you know, ball out in their own way.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's still South American teams, European teams, really good African teams awaiting Mexico in the 2026 World Cup. There's just no way that they'll be able to pull off anything successful with the level that they're playing at now. But it's what we said before the Gold Cup. It's just the state of things right now. I don't think Mexico can fix this because, again, I'll go back. I'm just using Kevin Alvarez right now as an example. He has been such a bright star at Pachuca, right now at America. He's had a really good start to his career in Liga MX. He's very good on the ball in Mexico. And he's offensive. He gets involved. He's a good passer. But at this stage, at the international level, he's not good enough.
Julian Araujo, I would say the same thing too, man.
Same thing.
Disappointing because they showcase themselves as such interesting prospects, but then when the moment comes to wear that green jersey, they don't show up the same way, man. It's a very frustrating translation we're seeing, especially with the young talent that Mexico has to offer, because it's basically happened to every single player under the age of 22 that we've deemed as some sort of prospect. Marcelo Flores gets his chance, misses a goddamn penalty. We don't see him since, man. Like, it happens to every single one of them, bro.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part for me, because I completely agree with everything you're saying. My only counter, my only thing that I would want differently from the Mexican national team is to give, instead of these mid players opportunities that already are like 25 years old and above, to give players that are young the chance and have an international team that is at its base averaging like 23 years of age across the whole squad. That's what I would want. Yeah. Because if we're going to suck, let's at least suck with the hope of having guys develop, right? But when you see the talent that we have at the youth level at that age, it's why you see Luis Romo and Herrera getting called up again, bro, because the competition just isn't healthy. It's not good. It's not fruitful, and it's very frustrating. So even when I think there's a solution to this very mediocre Mexican team, or even an approach that could change the situation into somewhat of a healthy, optimistic future, even that option doesn't seem to be as promising as I've seen it with other international teams. So crazy. We kind of almost have to accept already that we're not going to have a team that's going to be able to compete with even like the top 20 squads in the world, man. No. We're not there anymore. Whereas we used to be a mainstay in the round of 16, I think if we had that same format now, we'd once again be the favorites to not make it out of our group.
Yeah, I think so. I completely agree. You know, in the firing of Diego Coca when they lost 3-0 to the United States a couple months ago, there's so much comments about the frustration towards the Mexican Federation, right? You know, I considered them, and I think most of it's true. But I finally understand one of the major points. Finally got it when I was watching this game. I think the game was held in Atlanta. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but yeah. Games like this, and not just now, but over the last decade, they should be held in Mexico.
God, this isn't good anymore,
This is
man.
not good.
No, man.
Because what I've just now realized is you're not cultivating any sort of relationship with the Mexican national team and the actual fans of Mexico.
Isn't that crazy, dude?
Nuts.
Isn't that nuts, dude?
So bad.
Mexico's one of the only countries that does that. If not, maybe the only one.
I think the
bro.
only one.
Insane, bro. That can't be
It's not good.
fruitful, man. That can't lead to positive results. Ultimately, it's gonna have a backlash, and we're seeing it now, man.
I think we're seeing it.
There's a lack of connection, I think, with the Mexican national team and the people, bro.
Yeah. And it's crazy because the only time Mexico plays at home is for CONCACAF specific games like qualifiers. So all the people see is Mexico playing against El Salvador, Nicaragua, Caribbean teams.
Jamaica.
And of course they're going to win those games because, no disrespect, Mexico are better than those teams. Mm-hmm. But that's it. That's it. That's all the Mexican people see are these low-quality games, if you will, in comparison to a team like Uzbekistan, who's trying to make the World Cup.
Even Australia, man.
Even Australia would have been a fantastic way to put Australia in a really sticky situation, but also give the Mexican team something to fight for because they're playing in front of their own people. And I understand the Hispanic population in the United States is very real, and it has a huge tie to Mexico.
Yeah. It's not about that.
It's not about that. But there's something that is being missed by not playing in your own country. Mm-hmm. And I think we're now seeing it because there's a huge disconnect between having a good performance and low-key, maybe even a love for the national team, for the players themselves. Yes. Not even down to the fans anymore, not in the federation. I think the players themselves just honestly don't even know what they're playing for anymore because every time there's a Mexico game, they get on a plane to go to the United States.
Yep. Dude,
it's terrible.
The reaction I saw to the Uzbekistan result and the Australia result blew my mind, man. Because had these results happened even like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it'd be raucous, man. People would be losing their minds. But the acceptance I saw from myself, from other Mexico fans online, that whole man, this team is ass, and just leaving it at that was remarkable to see because we're talking about Mexico, man. Mexico, a team that people are willing to die for at times, man. It has lost that connection. It truly has lost its soul, I think, in a footballing sense because people are starting to lose affection for this team. There's nothing to be happy about outside of maybe a guy like fucking Santi Jimenez, guys that seem happy to wear that jersey, like Jordi Cortizo, having energy, having positive influence. It's so hard to find now, and I agree. I think the players themselves know it, though. They know that this Mexico team is not in a good situation. I don't even know if I want to be a part of it. Yeah. And when they do get called up to play within it, they're incredibly discouraged. They're uninspired and just lacking in that magic that the Mexican national team had for basically my whole life up until these last few years.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And it just makes me think of like a fantasy where this was done right. And like, dude, imagine Mexico inviting like Japan, Germany to Mexico to play friendlies.
Yeah.
Those could be some crazy games 6 years ago that could have like inspired a kid to be like, I want to be a part of that. Yeah. And then he goes on to, make it through Puebla's academy and, shit like that. Like, I think that's being missed.
Bro, or even the opposite. Like, Mexico does never plays friendlies like in Europe. They never
Yeah.
challenge themselves. Schedule a friendly against Germany, bro. Let's see what the fuck happens. The last friendly I can remember is when we rematched Netherlands in Netherlands and we beat them. And that was like a great moment for us because we got a revenge in a sense.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, why not? If we're trying to beat the elite of Europe, I understand it's not a competitive match or a competitive setting, but still, there's a lot you can learn out of having a friendly against a top team. We haven't had a friendly like that in years, I would think.
No, dude. I mean, again, 2 good teams in Asia, but two smaller teams, especially compared to like Japan, for example, in Asia, and 2 draws. You know, and it's just it's not good. It's not a good look, and yeah, I just do think the situation's dire, man. I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat any of this.